Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. About 7 or 8 topics for this video. The Russians again attacked Ukraine with a massive number of drones and missiles, and we're going to find out where they attacked and what kind of missiles and drones they used. The other one, the Russians supposedly or reportedly attacked a civilian ship in the Black Sea. The Russian troops capture another town in Donetsk Oblast towards Pokrovsk. Then the Ukrainian authorities announced evacuation from Kharkiv Oblast or Kharkov Oblast. Interesting. I will show you maps to see where this happens. Zelensky obviously thinks that only his so-called peace plan is workable because it's his, obviously, and he has some idiotic assessments or statements on the Brazilian Chinese plan or initiative. He's going to call that destructive, but he's not going to give us the reason why their plan is destructive. Nevertheless, I have 1, 2, 3 articles related to that issue. Meow meow. Next topic, we find out how many countries are eager beavers to join BRICS just like this now. And it's about 30 some, just like this now, knocking at the door. The other one, what the Russians have been saying for so long regarding NATO, Ukraine and Russia, it's true. And that comes from the horse's mouth, which is Blinken, the American in charge of the American foreign policy. And he's going to say something about NATO and Ukraine. We knew that all along. The other one, the Russians tell these baboons, don't even think about Crimea. Probably Crimea is going to be the end of the game. When Crimea disappears or gets into NATO's hands, then Russia doesn't exist. Well, we find out that Mr. Erdogan, the president of Turkey, loves international law. And I will show you how much he loves international law until we bring up the subject of the Greek islands. All right, and not only. And we have the last article and last topic. Zelensky is on the lookout of whomever will dare to try negotiating with Russia. That means there's a fire somewhere because Zelensky here is the smoke. All right, let's start with the beginning, the Russians' attacks. New voice of Ukraine. Russian forces attack Ukraine overnight with 5 different types of missiles and 64 drones. That is, diversity is their strength. Remember, September 12, 2024. Russian forces attacked Ukraine with 2 Iskander ballistic missiles, 1 Kh-59/69 cruise missiles, 2 Kh-22/32 cruise missiles, and 65 Shahed suicide drones. That means they kill themselves. Of which 44 were intercepted, the Ukrainian reported, all right, on September 12. So we have here Iskander M missiles. They were launched from Kursk Oblast. Where is that? Right here. From here they were launched. Pim, 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 pim. All right, next one. KH cruise missiles, Bryansk Oblast. Let's see where that is. Down here. Well, it is Belgorod. I'm sorry. Bryansk is right here. I already did right here. Belgorod is down here. Bryansk. So north of Kursk. Next one. KH-22/32 cruise missiles. 22 M3 bomber in the Black Sea airspace. Black Sea in south right here. So they came from there somewhere and went around and they launched it from here. Next one. Shaheds from Kursk Oblast and occupied Crimea. Probably to Cape Shahuda. I'm going to show you. So Kursk, again, we're going to go to Kursk right here. I just had a cat very close to my face and still I don't have any allergies. And then the other one is from Cape Shahuda, is here in the Crimean Peninsula, usually. I don't have allergies. Only certain people have allergies. I never heard of people having allergies where I come from. It was maybe one person in a $250,000 population, 1 or 2 or 3 allergies. But here everybody has allergies. You know why? Keep eating. All right, keep eating. their food, and you're going to find out what kind you got. All right, next one. Ukrainska Pravda, Russians attack Ukraine with missiles and Shahed UAVs overnight. Those are suicide. Ukrainian air defense destroyed 44. So the same information here. Let's see. I told you, Shauda, when Kursk and Yeisk. Yeisk is across from Sea of Azov. Yeisk is here. So this is where they launched Shaheds, as well as Cape Chauda right here and Kursk right here. So this is just an extra info. All right, the same 44 as of 9 o'clock for attack. UAVs remain in the airspace of Ukraine. Combat operations are underway. Next. Ukrainska Pravda, Russians strike civilian ship carrying wheat to Egypt in Black Sea. Was an accident, was a criminal attack, what that is. On Thursday, September 12, Russia launched an attack on civilian cargo ship in the Black Sea transporting wheat for Egypt. And what did it have down? Like Lusitania? Weapons in the cargo? Or what did they have on the bottom? Well, it's going to Egypt, so it couldn't be weapons, correct? So what could it be? And why? Well, I think they just want to destroy Zelensky's war machine. I mean, if it works towards Putin, obviously the Russians are not baboons, so we'll do the same thing with these guys, right? Why? Because they're bad. Anyway, let's move on. I think it was interesting. A Russian missile struck with cargo bound for Egypt. We don't know if it's a Russian missile. This is what the Ukrainians report. Could have been a American missile. Found bound for Egypt. Today's hit in the Black Sea was on an ordinary civilian vessel just after exiting Ukrainian territorial waters. According to preliminary data, there was no human casualties. All right, next one. Russian troops capture Lisivka, push forward in Donetsk Oblast. And they show you where Lisivka is. Right here and right here. I can't read, probably is Lisivka. This is Lisivka right here. I can't read that one. And that is in Donetsk, towards over here. So probably in this area. Doesn't go further than this. All right, so they are on the way to this beautiful town of Pokrovsk that they will take soon. Let's see if this is the one. Yeah. The enemy has also advanced in the village of Klishchivka, Nevelske, and also in the town of Ukrainsk and its suburbs. So these guys are advancing. Paparapa, tsapa tsapa. This is strange, isn't it? This is that. Obviously, this is a big deal. All right, let's see what do we have next. That was the one. This was the one. And we go here. Ukrainian authorities announce mandatory evacuation of children from 29 settlements in Kharkiv Oblast. Not a lot of diversity here, my friends. That's not good. The diversity these guys want. So again, this is in Kharkiv Oblast. Where's the Kharkiv? The Kharkiv Oblast is right here. Kharkov. So that is where the Russians had a little advance here. Not a big deal towards Kharkov, but hey, they could cut like that, and then they will cut from here. From north to south, from east to west, and the Ukrainians evacuated from what, 32 settlements, was it? 29 settlements in Kharkiv Oblast. That tells me the Russians are bombarding them or advancing, or the same thing actually, because if you can reach them, that means you advanced. The Kharkiv Oblast Defense Council has ordered the mandatory evacuation of 269 children from 29 settlements in the Kupiansk district. Kupiansk. Oh, what the hell? Kupiansk is right here. Right here is Kupiansk. So these guys are, you see this advance here, advance, they're going to go around. All right. It says here that this guy said the evacuation will be conducted from the following populated areas. And tells 10 settlements in Kupiansk, Romada, 6 settlements, 13 settlements. All right, Blinkenstein is here. He doesn't want to swallow. I give him $5. Maybe he will. Next one. Zelensky calls Sino-Brazilian initiative to end Russo-Ukrainian war destructive. Okay, baby doll. Tell me why. Look at this weasel. Anyway, president has described the Sino-Brazilian proposal to end the Russian-Ukraine war as destructive, as it is mere political statement that has not been discussed with Ukraine. Well, baby doll, let me give you this. If you have two children fighting and they can't solve their own problem, I think the adults should step in and say, okay, fuck off, let's talk. Don't you think? I don't think Ukraine, I'm going to show you, the Ukrainians don't want to negotiate. So what are they talking about? It's all or nothing. They have their little so-called peace talks in Switzerland, which were just the countries that actually fight Russia being the mediators or something. Russia was not even invited. And I tell Russia, do not even go over there. You make your own peace, summit. You make your own and that's it. Don't have to participate in their garbage. But I'm pretty sure the Russians will not do that because they have basic common sense. Is not a genius move. So the Ukrainians are upset they were not asked about it. Were the Russians asked about the Switzerland summit, peace summit? Were they asked about it? No. So what do you want? I mean, unless you're special, and you are, because you're chosen, right? Right here, the Ukrainian president added the proposals advocating for a mere political reconciliation with Russia lack clarity. And I'm going to quote him so we don't misinterpret his statements, right? Reconciliation of what? What does it mean to just sit down and talk, and he doesn't say anything? He's a murderer. Okay, then the conversation is over. Right there. When you don't discuss with someone because he's a murderer, remember the Soviets and the Americans talked to one another even though both were murderers. Why? Remember, one country dropped 2 atomic bombs on 2 civilian cities. That's a murderous act and that is a war crime. And the Soviets the same way. So they start talking about certain things. Then, and this guy cannot, like he's special somehow. I mean, my friends, please. This is the same. The Russians don't want to negotiate. No, you don't want. You have a little law over there that you forbid anyone to negotiate with the Russians. Why? The masters told you to go on. You have too many Ukrainians to, and then you know what you're going to do with the male population of Ukraine? You're going to substitute with some others coming from different areas on this planet. And they will take care of the Ukrainian women. You're going to give some beautiful babies. We like our diversity, don't we? All right, let's go to this alien. Ukraine Zelenskyy. Now, why is it with Y and sometimes with 2 double Ys? Look at this guy. Oh, my God. No, I don't want to change money today. Thank you. Go. Dismisses destructive China-Brazil peace initiative. Next one. Zelenskyy accuses Brazil and China of colluding with Russia. Probably in one of those right here, he said that. But let's see what the Russians are telling us about. The two countries has previously called for an international peace conference with participation of both Moscow and Kiev. I think that's great. That is better than only Kiev being invited, right? So already is better than the Western world or option. Again, Ukrainian leader. These guys are imbeciles. Why do you keep calling him Ukrainian? Zelenskyy has criticized China and Brazil for taking Russia's side and putting out peace initiatives without first consulting Kiev. Maybe you would be consulted along the way, or since you're a baboon and you don't want to negotiate, you don't need to be asked. Back in May, the two nations jointly issued a 6-point plan for settling the Ukraine conflict, emphasizing that, and I'm quoting, dialogue and negotiation are the only viable way out of the crisis. They have also called, I don't think so. The other way is one side utterly destroy the other side. And I think that's the way it's going to go. There's not going to be discussions because, it's too much to lose and too many people to put in front of a judge. I'm just kidding. I'm not even thinking about that because if you win, you are going to have Nuremberg trials then, right? The other ones are not going to be like, oh, let's be honest and see fair. Let's get both. No, we're going to go to Milosevic, but you're not going to go to Bill Clinton. Remember 1999 bombardment of Yugoslavia? Yeah, they got Milosevic, but not Clinton and Tony and other garbage. Why? Because they won. Oh my God. All right. Here, the previous summit on the conflict was held in Switzerland this summer without representatives from Russia and focused solely on Zelensky's peace formula, which Moscow has vehemently rejected. Speaking to Brazilian news outlet Papa on Wednesday, Zelensky called the Chinese-Brazilian proposal aimed at mutual compromise destructive and dismissed it as a political statement. He stated that he has since talked to Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and also approached Beijing to discuss resolving the conflict. And I'm quoting, "Why did you suddenly decide that you should take Russia's side or be somewhere in the middle? How can you offer here is your initiative without asking us anything?" Well, baby doll, did you ask the Russians anything when you started violating the Minsk agreements and you didn't even want to fulfill your obligations under the international law? No. So why should the other ones do the same thing? I mean, if you pretend to be honest and fair and, I don't know, with virtue, then apply the law or the rule across the board. That should apply to you as well. So please, as of now, you're doing the bidding using not your nation, but the Ukrainian nation's men to die at some of the people's expense profits. So, I think you should go and be put in a little box over there and spoken to, No? All right, let's move on. Now, this is what Putin claims. Total of 34 countries expressed desire to join BRICS in one form or another. Here is Putin. A total of 34 countries expressed a desire to join BRICS in one form or another, Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Thursday. And I'm quoting, "Today, more than 3,000 countries, precisely more than 34 states, have already expressed a desire to join the activities of our association, BRICS, in one form or another. The plan of Russia's BRICS presidency has already been fulfilled by more than 70%, Vladimir said. As of now, the chairmanship plan has been fulfilled by more than 70%. About 150 events, meetings, industry forums have been held. Most expert and ministerial meetings have been held," Putin said at a meeting with high representatives of the BRICS and BRICS Plus states in charge of security issues. As the current chair of BRICS, this year Russia has approached the organization of joint activities within the framework of the association with great responsibilities. Great! So, BRICS is going to expand, the other guys will remain the same, with about 30-some countries, which is maybe 40. The guys that are the vassal states of Al Capone on Al Capone's plantation. You know who they are. All right, let's move to something that we knew before. And the Russians said many, many, many times that NATO wants to take Russia into its ranks. The problem is it couldn't because Ukraine was supposed to be neutral, and the neutrality was broken and violated in 2014 when these guys orchestrated together with some traitors the bloody overthrow of a legitimate democratically elected government of Viktor Yanukovych. So then they said, "We want you to go into NATO." The Russian says, "You can't, and we're not going to allow that. It's too close." And this guy said, "We're not asking you. We're telling you. Or not even telling you. What are you going to do, attack us?" And the Ruskies said, "Yeah, we will." And they did. That's why it was unprovoked. You understand now? All right, so this is something the Russians... Now, obviously, the Americans will say, well, this is the consequences. We never wanted Ukraine to be part of NATO. Only in 2008, that baboon president, former George W. Bush, educated at Ivy schools in America, remember, Yale and Harvard, that illiterate guy, dyslexic and whatever he was, he said, well, we're going to invite Georgia and one day and Ukraine to be part of NATO. In 2008, in Bucharest summit, NATO summit, where Russia was participating just as an observer. And Putin said, what? I'm going to you up. That's what he said, exactly like that. So when these guys say now, no, this is a reaction of Russia's invasion, that's not true. Okay? That's not true. So let's go to the next article, which is something that it's obvious for everyone. Russia Today, Crimea, and I'm quoting, not up for discussion. Moscow. Peace in Ukraine requires recognition of reality, the Russian Foreign Ministry has said. What is that? The reality is Crimea is mostly filled with Russians. They voted, they had referenda, 2 of them, right? One to break from the tyrants that attacked Donbass and they overthrew the government of Viktor Yanukovych, and the other one to join Russia. They're all democratic. We love democracy when they do what we want them to do. And I think this is even more legitimate than Kosovo. It was not the people voting for Kosovo's independence. It was the parliament who decided that for the people. They would have probably voted for anyway, but that was exactly the same thing? No, I don't think so. Those guys bombarded the country to give away part of its territory and be formed a little NATO hub in the Balkans. That's what is Kosovo. You don't believe me? I don't care. All right, so my friends, let's move to the next one. And this is Erdogan all of a sudden likes international law. Here, international law requires return of Crimea to Ukraine, President of Turkey. So, all of a sudden, Mr. Erdogan loves international law, right here. And he says international law requires return of Crimea to Ukraine, President of Türkiye. I wonder what he thinks about, Kosovo. All right, so, Mr. Erdogan, I'm guaranteeing you, I know that Turkey has some issues with Greece regarding some islands that I think Turkey took over. I think one of them was Cyprus, wasn't it? Half of it. So if we go by the international law, I think Erdogan should shut the fuck up. He should just do what he does best, which is take advantage of the situations, as an opportunistic that he is. Good for him, as long as that is in the advantage of the Turkish people. That's all he needs to do. But to come and try to lecture, but you know why he's doing that? He's not doing it because of Crimea necessarily. He's doing that because of Palestine. So he says, back here I'm going to say this, and then in Palestine I'm going to say the same thing with, what was that, United Nations Resolution 282, was it at 282? Where it requires the retreat of the occupation and forbade settlements over certain kind of So I think that's where he's going with this. But nevertheless, just to hear Erdogan, who sits on, I think there are some Greek islands over there. Now, if you go by that, the Turks came after the Greeks. So the Turks should get the fuck out and allow the Greeks to take over the current Turkey. No? I mean, if you go by that, then the Romanians should kick a lot of people out and take over territory surrounding current modern Romania, and so on. The Romans should pay a lot of money to many people due to their, bum, ju, ka. I mean, but anyway, I understand where he comes from. And now, let's look at Zelenskyy, new voice of Ukraine. No negotiations with Russia have been authorized. Why do you feel the need to say that? Did anybody want to do that? There are people and groups that want to do that. You're uncertain that your position is secure. You just woke up yesterday and you forgot that is not authorized anybody to do it. And why not? Only you? Again, Ukrainian, because he's Ukrainian as I am Zimbabwean. Zelensky has not authorized anyone to conduct ceasefire negotiations with Russia yet. Oh, thank you very much. In the next 3,529 years, he will authorize it. The president said on September 11 at the press conference in Kiev, he stated that there is no alternative to an ultimately durable peace deal to end the war. No frozen occupations. No people abandoned in Russian captivity. What are you talking about? That's why some people in Ukraine, when the Russians advance, they don't want to, relocate or evacuate, because they wait for their brothers to come over. They know what's on the other side. So some of them think that way. So, okay, and let's say the Ukrainians will occupy Crimea. What do you think will happen? I tell you, it's going to be a look for people who collaborated. And I think everybody collaborated because everybody voted, right? 90% voted to, no, that's a crime, isn't it? It's a crime to want your country to be broken. According to the Ukrainian law, Crimea did not have that right. So everybody who voted in the referenda, two of them, one to break away from Ukraine, that is obviously treason, and then to give the land of Ukraine, click, 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 to Russia, double treason. So that means you're going to kill what, 92% of the adult population who voted? And besides, you're going to be Russians over there. What are you going to do with them? And you're going to go from house to house, and you're going to look for traitors. And as Zelensky's fellow relative, Lazar Kaganovich, remember that criminal? As he told Stalin, tell me the person's name, I'll find you the crime. So I think the same thing is going to be, they're going to enter wherever they want and take whatever they want because they're going to have the guns, and they're going to say, you collaborated, I like your wife, I'm going to, and so on. That's what's going to happen. Why? Because they're human beings. And with all this war and all this propaganda and a lot of hatred, it's not that it's as it was. It's like big volcano. So I'm guaranteeing you, if the Ukrainians are going to invade, to take over Crimea, I think 90% of Crimea will be left empty, as the Hungarians like to say about Transylvania. When we came in year 990 something, we found Transylvania empty. But the next day, our horses were stolen. Who did it? The guys that were over there. Who are those? The Romanians. Thank you very much for being with me again today. That's a joke. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.